He made millions collecting dog poop. Sounds ridiculous, right? But Matthew Osborn didn't just build a business, he cleaned up an entire industry, one backyard at a time. Back in the late 1980s, in the quiet suburbs of Columbus, Ohio, Matthew was just another guy trying to survive the grind. He worked 2 full-time jobs, one during the day, one at night, just to keep his family afloat. His life was a loop of exhaustion, sleep, work, repeat. He wasn't rich, wasn't connected, and definitely wasn't the kind of man anyone expected to start a national franchise. Money was tight. Every dollar mattered. His old pickup truck rattled when it started. The bills stacked faster than the paychecks came in. But through it all, Matthew had something rare, a restless kind of curiosity. He wasn't satisfied with just scraping by somewhere deep down. He knew there had to be a better way to earn a living, something simple, something nobody else was willing to do. Here's where it gets unbelievable. One summer afternoon, while helping a friend clean up his backyard, Matthew noticed how much dog waste had piled up. It wasn't just a mess, it was a full-time problem. Every house in the neighborhood had dogs, and every yard had the same dirty secret. Families hated cleaning it, yet it had to be done. That was the moment the idea struck him. What if someone got paid to do it? To most people, that sounded insane. Who would ever pay someone to pick up after their dog? It was the kind of idea you'd laugh at, not invest in. But Matthew couldn't shake it off. He'd seen people pay for lawn care, window cleaning, even car detailing, all chores people could do themselves but didn't want to. Why not this? At first, it was just a weekend experiment. He printed a few flyers on cheap paper, scribbled his phone number, and called it Hooper Scooper Service. It wasn't glamorous, but it was honest. He went door to door offering to clean yards for a small fee, about $10 a visit. The first week, only 1 customer said yes. The next, 2 more. It wasn't much, but it was something. Still, most people laughed in his face. Friends told him it was a waste of time. Family thought he'd lost his mind. One neighbor even joked, "You'll never make a living cleaning up dog crap." But Matthew kept going. He didn't see it as poop. He saw it as potential. The early days were rough. He did everything himself: marketing, cleaning, scheduling, billing. There was no website, no smartphone, no fancy equipment, just a bucket, a shovel, and pure determination. On cold mornings, he'd scrape frozen waste from yards until his hands went numb. In summer, the smell was unbearable. But with every job, he learned a little more about the business, how to manage clients, how to price services, how to stay consistent. Then something strange started happening. Word spread. People who used to mock the idea began asking for his number. Busy families, elderly pet owners, even property managers saw the value. Within a year, he had dozens of regular clients. His weekends were fully booked, and soon he had to turn people away. Here's where it gets interesting. Matthew noticed a pattern once someone hired him. They rarely quit. Dog owners didn't want to go back to doing the dirty work themselves. That meant recurring income, the holy grail of small business. This wasn't just a gig anymore. It was a system, he realized. If he could build teams and standardize the service, it could grow far beyond his own city. But back then, franchising a Hooper Scooper business sounded ridiculous. He didn't have investors, mentors, or business school training. All he had was a hunch that people would pay for convenience. No matter how small the problem seemed, his first big test came when he tried hiring help. Training someone to do the job right wasn't easy. Most new hires quit after the first week. It was messy work, and the stigma was real. But Matthew kept refining his methods: clear pricing, uniforms, polite service, and absolute reliability. If a customer's yard wasn't spotless, they didn't pay. That kind of promise built trust fast. By the early 2000s, he had turned his small local operation into something much bigger, a franchise model that allowed others to run their own pet waste removal businesses under one name, Poop 911. And just like that, the joke became a brand. The idea that once made people laugh was now spreading city by city. Franchise requests began rolling in from across the country. His humble experiment was evolving into a professional, scalable business. But at this point in the story, Matthew was still at a crossroads. He'd proven the concept, but scaling it nationwide would take more than hard work. It needed structure, investment, and vision. The man who once scraped dog poop in backyards was about to face his biggest challenge yet, turning a local service into a million-dollar empire. But then, one small decision flipped everything and turned mockery into millions. Then, everything changed. What began as a weekend hustle in one Ohio neighborhood suddenly started attracting attention across the country. Matthew Osborn's simple idea, cleaning up after dogs, had evolved from a local oddity into a legitimate business opportunity. The name Poop 911 became more than just a quirky title. It was becoming a brand people remembered. The turning point came when Matthew decided to franchise the business. Instead of managing every yard himself, he realized he could teach others how to do it and give them a way to earn a living too. This one move changed everything. In 2005, Poop 911 officially launched as a national franchise. And within the first year, several territories had already been sold. People who once laughed at the concept were now paying thousands to be part of it. Here's where it gets interesting. Within a few short years, Poop 911 had expanded beyond Ohio into major cities like Dallas, Phoenix, and Tampa. The business model was simple but powerful. Weekly, bi-weekly, or one-time pet waste removal services with subscription-style payments. Customers didn't have to think about it. The team just showed up, cleaned up, and left their yards spotless. It was convenience at its purest form. By 2010, Poop 911 franchises were popping up all over the U.S. The company had hundreds of operators, thousands of loyal customers, and consistent monthly income streams. Some franchisees reported earning between $80,000 and $150,000 a year. Depending on location and scale, the once embarrassing idea was now a six-figure career for many people. But with success came chaos. Matthew found himself managing growth faster than he'd ever imagined. More calls, more emails, more requests. Each new city brought new challenges: licensing laws, training standards, marketing costs. He had to make sure the brand didn't lose its identity. The goal wasn't just to grow, it was to grow right. He invested in scheduling software, standardized uniforms, and a simple customer care system that guaranteed satisfaction. He also focused heavily on building trust, no hidden fees, clear pricing, and reliable service. In an industry built on something no one wanted to touch, reputation was everything. And here's the surprising part. Poop 911 wasn't just surviving. It was thriving during economic downturns. While many businesses struggled in the 2008 recession, Matthew's franchise network stayed strong. Why? Because even in hard times, people kept their pets, and pets still pooped. That made his business nearly recession-proof. The numbers kept climbing. Within a decade, Poop 911 had cleaned millions of yards, serviced tens of thousands of households, and expanded into over 60 U.S. cities. It became one of the largest pet waste removal franchises in America. What began as Matthew's one-man operation now supported dozens of small business owners across the country, all under his brand. But success wasn't easy. Scaling meant more pressure, more responsibility. Matthew worked long hours, constantly refining his system. There were days he missed family time, days when franchise deals fell through, and days when customers complained. But every obstacle only sharpened his process. He learned how to handle growth without losing control. Still, not everyone believed the hype. Some people called it a funny business. Others dismissed it as just another gimmick. But the results spoke louder than opinions. Poop 911 built a reputation for professionalism: clean trucks, punctual workers, satisfied customers. What had started as a joke became a trusted household service. And here's the part most people overlook. Matthew's success wasn't just about cleaning up after dogs. It was about identifying a hidden problem and solving it better than anyone else. He saw value where others saw waste. Literally, he turned something unpleasant into something profitable. His business wasn't built on glamour, it was built on consistency. By the mid-2020s, Hoop 911 had become a multi-million-dollar franchise network with hundreds of employees across the U.S. The company continued to expand into new markets, offering eco-friendly disposal and even pet odor treatments. Matthew no longer had to clean yards himself, but he often said those early days taught him everything about grit, humility, and customer service. Today, he's recognized as one of the pioneers of the pet waste removal industry. His company has served over 200,000 customers nationwide, and new franchise applications still arrive every month. He proved that even the strangest ideas can work, if you're willing to do the work others avoid. Of course, not everyone can pull this off. It takes discipline, patience, and a deep understanding of people's habits. Many who tried to copy his model failed because they underestimated the grind. Matthew succeeded not because he found an easy business, but because he was willing to start with the hard, dirty part and build from there. He didn't just sell a service. He sold time, comfort, and convenience. That's what customers were really buying. And that's the legacy of Matthew Osborn, the man who looked at the world's messiest problem and turned it into a system that made life easier for thousands. He proved that weird ideas can become wild fortunes if you're brave enough to look foolish first. So now the question is, would you ever take a risk this crazy if it could make you millions?